There used to be an old abandoned school in a town by my house. It was heavily boarded up, and super hard to get into. Well, a friend and I managed to get inside, by climbing up the side of the school via a pipe and slipping through a window on the roof. We explored the basement, which was flooded. It was kinda creepy seeing stairs disappear into water. We had just left the gym, when we heard footsteps coming from the doors on the other side of the gym. Scary as hell, especially considering it sounded like it was one person, not another group of explorers like us, and blocking our exit back up to the roof. The only way out otherwise was behind us, through boarded-up doors. They sounded like someone who was walking around, and stopping periodically. There was no light coming from that direction, and we couldn't fathom why someone would come into a creepy place like this alone. We waited for the footsteps to stop, then snuck across the gym, peered down the hallways, saw no one, and continued towards the stairs which would lead us back to the roof. Halfway down the hall, we hear someone fucking sprinting behind us. Probably 50 meters away or so, down a typical high school hallway. Now, it is mostly dark in here, but there was a small amount of light coming in through cracks in the window boards. Still, we didn't see anything behind us as we quickly ran up the stairs. We didn't stop until we got back to the 4th floor. We listened for noise, nothing. Hopped out the window and climbed back down the pipe. Legitimately the scariest experience of my life. I have no idea what the hell went on in there. Story 2. About a few months ago, me and my friends went to an abandoned kids asylum. My friend kicked down the door and we went inside. Everything was untouched. There was no graffiti. When they shut down, they boarded almost every entrance, but not the front entrances facing the road. But we didn't give a shit, so after a few kicks the doors breaks down. We go inside. Like I said, it was untouched. We found papers back from the 1990s. It was a small building, only 1 floor, but when we get to the main part of the building it gets really cold. I start hearing 3 knocks. I thought it was the police. I look out and nobody was there. There was also this creepy chair in the middle of the hallway, so we eventually left. We told my teacher about what happened. She said ghosts like to knock in 3 or something like that. Well, we go back the next weekend. The door was still how we left it. There was no sign that someone else had been there, but when we go back inside the creepy chair we saw that had straps on it, so when they used it the kids that were on it couldn't move. When sitting, the chair was moved about 20 feet down the hall. We immediately run as far away as we can. When we went back a few months later, there was a broken window and a board torn off. Haven't been back since. I plan on going back. Wish me luck. When I was in high school, I lived in a small town in Louisiana that had nothing to offer teenagers for entertainment. During the summer months we often occupied ourselves cruising back roads looking for adventure. We often ended up wading creeks, stealing watermelons, or some such mischief. We had seen an old 2-story farmhouse that was almost completely hidden by massively overgrown hedges and decided to check it out. In the bright daylight it was just a big, dilapidated, empty old house with some interesting poetry written in beautiful script on the peeling wallpaper of one of the upstairs bedrooms. Some weeks later a group of us got together to go haunted house hunting. A few of us knew exactly where the hunt would be. It was not uncommon for us to go on haunt hunts because the area is dotted with antebellum cemeteries and historic sites. Some were pretty eerie. After arriving at the house there was a lot of mixed emotions about going in. It was a mixed crowd, male and female, bold and timid on both sides. I was eager to show one of our female companions the poetry upstairs and had no qualms about going there. A few others stepped up and wanted to take the trip. There were 4 or 5 of us going in and a few more waiting outside. We walked around on the 1st floor laughing and hooting out of the windows. Then headed up the stairs. I was second in line with one guy in front of me and a girl behind and 1 or 2 more behind her. Just as we were reaching the top of the stairs I started to get goosebumps and felt a terrific chill despite the hot humid night. The first guy hit the top landing and started to walk toward the bedroom. I was only a step behind while the others lingered on the stairs. Suddenly, I was filled with a terrible sense of dread and foreboding, a major case of the creeps. I must not have been alone because the girl at the top of the stairs let out a blood-curdling scream and stumbled with the others scrambling down the stairs. At the same instant the guy in front of me turned and ran flat, face to face into me. I struggled for a microsecond with my footing, then flew down the stairs close on the heels of the others. Those waiting outside were either laughing or showing intense concern. All wanted to know what happened or what we saw. There was nothing to explain except the horrendous feeling of some awful presence. We all tried to laugh it off, but no one hesitated about the decision to leave. I never visited the place again, and it now exists only in memory. In the small East Texas town I lived in, there was an old Victorian house that had been abandoned for years. Me and my friends would occasionally drive by it and try to look in the windows to see what was inside, but they were all covered with weeds and inside curtains. We heard the place was going to be torn down finally, so we decided to break in and have a look inside before it was gone. For out of the way East Texas, this house was exceptional. It was full gingerbread Victorian, 3 floors tall, complete with a grand staircase and turret. We got a ground floor window open and crawled inside. It was a time capsule. Whoever had lived there had taken nothing out, just left everything in place, since the 50s we guessed. We were trespassing in 1981. First floor was living room, dining room, formal sitting room and library, full of antiques and rat poop. The kitchen was the scariest. The animals were definitely still in there, so I wasn't brave enough to go in. My friend who was with me found a mountain of unopened mail under the front door mail slot. She went wild going through all the books in the library. She was a photographer and the absent owner was a photography collector, lots of cool books and cameras. She gathered her loot while I ventured upstairs. Second floor was all grand bedrooms, beautiful wood Victorian furniture. Unfortunately the floors were caving in, so I didn't go into any of them, just gawked around and got scared by rats. The third floor was really caved in, so I creeped back down the staircase and noticed something I really wanted, a hand-blown Tiffany-style hanging light fixture hanging down from the top of the turret. It was perfect, but it was about 20 foot up. Me and my friend tried every way we could to climb up to it, but there was no way to safely reach it. I had to settle for pilfering a beautiful mantel clock from the hearth in the living room. Art Deco, dusty and perfect. Me and my friend had been inside the house for a few hours, no one was going to see us, but we were beginning to get paranoid, so we made our way out the window we came in from. I hoisted my heavy clock and my friend lugged several old cameras around her neck and an armload of books. We had to make it to our old beat-up car and make our getaway before the neighbors started to notice us. We snuck through the weeds and threw all our loot into the back seat. It was starting to rain. We jumped in, and then, my car wouldn't start. We were terrified. What if we got caught with stolen antiques, that obviously nobody wanted? It was raining and my windows were getting foggy. Finally, we tried again and my old clunker started up with a cough. We tried to leave by not quite squealing the tires. We made it. I wish I had pictures of the grand old place. It's long gone, they tore it down and never went inside. I still have the clock sitting on my buffet more than 40 years later. My old friend still has the books and cameras, and we both have memories of how exciting and scary it was. We were never true thieves, but we felt like it was a shame to throw away such wonderful things if they could be liberated. An old girlfriend of mine, her best friend and her boyfriend broke into an old abandoned retail store. Warning: adult content ahead, not for the sensitive. We just went in to look around, see what all was in. It was some kind of a showroom building, maybe an old rug store with about 8 smaller rooms in it. Mostly empty, some had broken office furniture in it. The boyfriend, Jake, sat in one of the office chair. I myself had been playing with a rolling chair and almost slammed into Jake. Sherry, his girlfriend, climbed up onto a showcase stage in the middle of the room and swaying back and forth as if hearing music that no one else could. Jake lit a cigarette and shouted, "Go girl." My girlfriend Tina was sitting next to the stage, and started encouraging her to go on. I wasn't sure how far Sherry was going to take it or how far Jake would let it go, so I was just trying to take in as much as I could. Sherry started undoing her top. I looked over at Jake to judge how he was going to react. I guess he saw me and said it was cool she did this kind of thing all the time. Then I looked at Tina to make sure she was cool too, and she was more into watching what her friend was doing than whether or not I was watching. Sherry had taken off her top and bra and was working on trying to take off her pants as sexy as possible when Tina decided to help out. They got her down to just a pair of silky panties. Damn, she did look good. Her boobs were not very big but very nice and fit her frame great. "Your turn," she said to Tina, who was about more shy. I didn't think she would go for it even though I was hoping she would. Tina looked at me, and I really wanted the show to go on, so I said, "It's just us here, go for it." Tina started to undo her top when Sherry leaned into her and kissed her. Well, as if I wasn't getting hard enough watching the little strip show, my dick went to full mass at that. Even more so when Tina started to kiss her back. It wasn't long before Sherry had Tina's large tits uncovered and was grabbing her ass. I looked at Jake, not believing what I was seeing, and he was sitting there stroking his dick. It was long, about 8 inches or so. I saw that he noticed I was looking, so I turned away fast. "It's okay, I don't care if you look." We were sitting pretty close to each other, so he reached over, took my hand and moved it to his cock. I wrapped my fingers around it and started stroking it as our girlfriends were making out with each other. I had no idea Jake was into guys. Glad that he was. I had thought he was cute since I met him. The girls had gotten out of all of their clothes by now and were full on going at it, rubbing each other pussies as they sat there. Jake said, "Let's get a better view," and took off his pants and moved to the stage. God, he had a nice ass. I soon followed, getting out of my pants as I did. Jake walked over to where Tina was, his hard cock inches from her face. Tine opened her mouth and took him into her. It was so sexy watch my girlfriend sucking another man's dick. Jake signaled me over to them. I joined them as Tina started to suck me as well. She was going back and forth between us as Sherry got between her legs. I had done a lot of very sexy things before, but this was my first force. Jake reached down and started stroking me as Tina sucked on me. Then he leaned over and took me into his mouth. He shifted around to where he was kinda lying down. I looked over and Sherry was going back and forth giving head to him and Tina that I couldn't take it anymore. I really wanted to fuck at this point, so I moved behind Sherry and entered her. I was so into it that I hadn't noticed that Jake had moved again until I felt him behind me. He slid his cock into me and I almost came instantly but was able to hold off. Jake started matching my strokes, pumping into my ass as I fucked his girlfriend, and she went down on mine. Tina was the first to come, then I felt Jake shoot his load in my ass, and that sent me off in Sherry. I heard her moan as she came. We decided that Tina needed her turn, but not there. We got dressed again and headed back to mine and Tina's place to continue that.